Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Lisa Davis. I'm the coordinator of early childhood programs for the Howard County Public School System. We have some other members of our office in the back here: Amy Raymond, instructional facilitator; Chris Woodson, administrative assistant; Kim Nuasu, resource teacher; and you met a whole lot of people in the hallway who were also here to help us this evening. Okay, so welcome. You are part of an incoming class of 4,000 kindergarten students that we anticipate joining us in the fall of 2017, and we're very excited to have you here with us. And we are a lot of people, actually, who bring this workshop to you. We have a transition to kindergarten work group that's been together since 2007, working together to improve the transition to kindergarten for the families of Howard County. So you can see here, we actually have a lot of members of our work group, many of whom were out in the hallway this evening. So a few reminders. Make sure your cell phone ringers are off, please. Oops. All right, don't touch Kim. If you have children with you, hopefully you were able to check them into childcare. We will give them back at the end of the evening. You're not allowed to go out to dinner while we're having your children in childcare. If your children choose to stay here, we will be together for about an hour. If they need to move around or be noisy, I would ask that you use one of the exits and take them into the hallway, just because of the sound acoustics in here, and then you can come back in as soon as they're ready. I also want to remind you that this event is being live streamed, so welcome to the audience at home or at the schools that are gathering together to watch us. So just know that you're being videotaped as well, backs of your heads, and this will be posted to the website after the evening's over. So here's the plan for tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about school readiness, because there's a lot of talk out there about what does that really mean. And we want to clear up misconceptions and make sure that we're all on the same page about that. Then we're going to talk to you a little bit about the kindergarten program itself, because we want you to have kind of a picture of a typical day and understand the kinds of things that we're working on in kindergarten. And then we're going to talk to you about some of the logistical stuff, the registration, enrollment information, the things you need to know before you embark on the next step. We will have plenty of time for questions and answers at the end, so if you think of a question while I'm talking, go ahead and jot it down on your note-taking sheet, save it for the end, and my guess is a lot of your questions may actually get answered during the presentation, because we've used the feedback forms from the last 7 years to tailor the presentation and make sure that we're addressing the kinds of things that we know new kindergarten parents want to know about. So those of you watching at home also, if you would save your questions till towards the end, we do have people monitoring Twitter and Facebook to take the incoming questions and share them with the group. So let's think about why we're all here tonight. We believe, and we think that you believe, and I'm going to let you read the next few by yourself. And on that note, oops. Welcome to the class of 2030. There's that audible gasp I usually get on that slide. When we started doing these workshops, my daughter was actually leaving elementary school and going into middle school. And I remember thinking that I had literally the exact same feeling in my stomach of nervous, excitement, worry, wonder, all that stuff all mixed up together that I felt when she went to kindergarten. And then I felt it when she went to high school, and then she was the class of 2016, so I just felt it when she went to college. So I'm warning you now that that bundle of nervous energy that you have in your stomach right now doesn't actually go away. The things that you wonder about and get excited about change a little bit, but the feelings are going to stay the same through each of these transitions that you go through. So hopefully we'll get you started on the right path. So the plan for tonight is to make sure that you have a ground understanding of what's going to be happening. So you see the bottom of the pyramid is this county level information. We want to make sure that you know the kinds of things that are the same about every school. We have 41 elementary schools. We have about 189 kindergarten classrooms. And there are certain things that we can tell you tonight that are the same about all of those. And so we want to make sure that you understand that that's what tonight is about, is this general understanding. Because then, when you go register at your school, you're going to get to the next layer, which is that school-specific information. That's where you're going to start to learn about your own school community, things that might be a little bit different about school A versus school B. Then in the fall, you're going to find out who your teacher is, and you're going to find out even more specific information about how that classroom may differ from other classrooms in that school or in the county. So we kind of let you know that now so you understand the purpose of this evening. I think that in the beginning, people used to be concerned that they weren't getting some of the specifics that they thought they were coming here for. You're going to get plenty of specifics tonight, but it's about things that are the same for all 41 schools, okay? So we're going to start on that conversation about readiness. What does ready for school mean? And I think what's really important to understand is that we acknowledge that every child comes to school with different strengths and needs, and that we don't expect them to come to school knowing everything. But on the other hand, there are things that you can do to be helping to prepare them to be successful. Ready for school really means ready to access the learning that's going to happen in kindergarten. So we have this acronym, and the first letter R is for real life experiences. And I will tell you that this is probably one of the most important things that you can do as a parent of a young child, is offer them as many experiences as you can. Take them to the grocery store, take them to the movies, take them to the park, to the zoo, to the museums, take them for walks, notice things. The more they see of the world, the more connections they're making to things, and then they're ready to connect it to other things when they get to school. They've only been on the earth for 5 years or less. Think about how many days that actually is. You want to offer them this rich variety of places and things and people to see and to talk about and to wonder about, because when they sit down in a reading group for the first time and the teacher starts asking them about the pictures in the story, the children that have seen those things before, the comfort level is so much greater because they have something to speak about. I've seen that before. My grandma has that. I went there before. And they have conversations about things that they recognize, and it builds their confidence. So you want to be making sure that you are taking them everywhere that you can go between now and school starting and asking them to talk about the things that they see. The same goes for the early vocabulary and literacy exposure, because words are just as important. There's actually research being done about a word gap, that we're noticing that children from families that don't talk a lot, there's not a lot of conversation happening, they're coming to school with 30 million less words than children that are in language-rich environments during the birth to 5 years. And think about all the things that they're ready to attach those words to. So they don't necessarily have to use the words, they need to be hearing the words and connecting the words to things. So you need lots of conversation happening in your household. You can do that through books or the places that you go. The A for areas of competence and strength represent this idea that every child brings something with them to school. And you want to make sure that your child knows what they're good at. Make them feel confident and strong and secure that they are bringing strengths with them to school. And thus, when they know that there's things they're good at and that other children are good at different things, they're more likely to feel comfortable with the fact that there's some things they're not so good at. And everybody has things that they need to learn when they get to school. Developmentally appropriate practice means that we think these things that you can be doing with your children and the things that we're going to be doing with them need to be cognizant of the fact that they're 5, and that children who are 5 need to run and play and move and sing and dance and talk in order to make sense of their learning. They do not need to be sitting in front of a workbook all day in order to learn the skills that they need to learn for school. But on the flip side, you need to get to know how you can help them learn some of those school-type skills in those fun, appropriate ways. So I remember my son he wanted nothing to do with letters. All the things that worked for my daughter did not work for my son. And it wasn't until we figured out to use the hammer and the blocks that had the letters on them that he could pound, it was when he wanted to start caring about letters. So you need to find the things that interest your child and capitalize on that, and then use that as an opportunity for learning. Young Curious Minds is here because we want your children to know that it's okay to ask questions. It's not just okay, it's actually encouraged to ask questions. We want them to come to school knowing that it's a place to learn new things. And some of you might have children that are perfectionists, don't like to make mistakes. We want them to know that school is a safe place for mistakes, that nobody knows everything, and that we're all there to learn together. So you want them to be asking questions and feel curious about the kinds of things that we're doing in school. Now, before I forget, I want to tell you a story before I go on to that one. How many of you, you don't have to raise your hand, just think about you had a child who started walking when he or she was about 9 months old, and you thought he or she was gifted, right? I see some giggles because you thought it. And then there are a few of you in here who your children didn't start walking until 13 months, 14 months. You're starting to get a little bit worried. And I promise you that when they walk into kindergarten, we don't know who walked at 9 months and who walked at 13 months because they all walk fine. It's all about their developmental path, and they need to learn at their own rate, and they're going to be okay. And that really goes along with this idea of school readiness, that everybody's developing at different rates. But one thing to remember is that you didn't leave them to their own devices to learn to walk. They didn't really learn to walk in spite of you. They learned to walk because of you, because you were enticing them, because you were making it seem like a cool thing to do, because you were kind of modeling the behavior, because you were allowing them to do it in steps that were comfortable for them. You were pulling them up by their hands. You were allowing them to walk with their hands on the table. You were guiding them and showing them what to do. And that's the same kind of thing that is your responsibility when it comes to learning how to read and do math and make friends and everything else. That together we need to model those processes and hold their hands and then slowly let go and let them learn the rest on their own. So we do have questions come up frequently about, so what is it really? That all sounded good, but what is it really that a child needs to know when they come to school? There is no finite list. There is no such thing as, if your child knows these things, he's going to be fine when he gets to school. But there are research-based, proven skills and strategies and abilities and things that a child can do at the age of 5 that mean that they're probably going to be pretty successful. And so we have a lot of that information available to you on our website. This is just an example of a language arts page that we have for parents. There's one for pre-K, there's one for kindergarten, but there's one for all of the other subject areas also. And there's also documents in your toolkit that you're going to get when you leave this evening that has websites and lots of other information for you. So remember, it's really about age-appropriate standards that we're looking at. So the other thing that's important to remember is that those standards represent multiple domains of learning. And the idea here is that we're not just worried about teaching a child to read. We're not just worried about him learning his numbers. We want him or her to be a well-rounded student and a successful child in school and in life. So we really place equal emphasis on all of these domains of learning. So our curriculum addresses all of these areas. All the activities that we do in a given day address all of these areas. And we assess children in all of these areas. And those assessments happen all the time, because when you're testing a 5-year-old, it's not the kind of test that you might remember when you were in school. We have to watch them, we have to talk with them, we have to observe them in a natural setting, but we also have to observe what they do with a given task. We have to ask them pointed questions and give choices for answers for some. Others we might leave open-ended to see what the answer might be. Some of those assessments might happen in the summer. We have some schools that actually invite families to bring the child during the summer months so that they have some time one-on-one with a teacher. Some schools choose to wait and do that when school starts and have the teachers rotate around and get to know the children and do those assessments. All of those different kinds of information that they gather help them make a homeroom class that is diverse in nature. The idea is that we don't want any one classroom to have just one kind of child. We want a mixture of children who speak only English and children who speak multiple languages, children who are reading chapter books and children who don't know their letters yet, and children who are quick to make friends and children who are very shy and learning to make friends. And that variety in a classroom is what helps children learn about the world and each other and how to interact with all those different kinds of people, and allows a teacher to make different kinds of groups to address different kinds of needs throughout the day. And sometimes children are grouped with children that are similar to them, and sometimes they're purposely grouped with children who are different from them. So we'll talk more about that when we talk about the curriculum, but I just wanted you to understand how we address those different areas of learning and assessment. So here's a lot of words, but I'm just going to let you take a minute to read our vision for our high-quality kindergarten program. Basically, the idea here is that not only are we teaching them stuff, but we're teaching them how to be a student. Many of these children have never been in school before, or if they have, it was a totally different kind of environment than where they're coming to. And so our job is to teach them how to be a learner, how to interact with others in their environment, how to handle those school kind of skills while also learning all of the content that we're exposing them to. Can you go back, Kim? I don't know why it's, thank you. So every day in kindergarten, these things are embedded into everything that a teacher's doing. A teacher's making sure that what she's doing is developmentally appropriate. We talked about that a little bit already. She's also making sure that there's lots of opportunities for children to express their thoughts. It can't be the teacher talking all day and waiting for a student to raise their hand and answer a question with a word or two. It needs to be pulling the language out of the children, providing lots of opportunities for them to express their thoughts, express their feelings, express their questions, wonder things, compare things. There's lots and lots of language happening in a given day in kindergarten. There's also some very intentional teaching around social skills, emotional skills, and behavioral skills. Because as I mentioned before, learning how to be in school is just as important as the stuff you're learning in reading and math in school. The integrated instruction is the idea that at 5, they need us to help them connect their learning. We're not doing scattered pieces of information throughout a day, but we're making sure that we're integrating that instruction so that whatever they're learning about in science, they might be reading a book about in their language arts class. And then they might do an activity in math that uses some of the ideas from the science lesson. And then they might be talking about it or playing with it when they're in center time. So the teachers are trying to find ways to make those connections for children. So this is a typical day in kindergarten. It is not a standardized schedule. It looks a little bit different in every school depending on how many kindergartens they have. Some schools have 3 kindergarten classrooms, some have up to 7 kindergarten classrooms, which then affects how many need to go to lunch, how many have to move through different parts of the day. So you're going to see things in different order in your own school, but these components will be in the given day at your school. By the way, a typical day is about 6.5 hours for elementary school day. So the beginning of the day is arrival. Children are coming in from all different places. So some are coming in off of a bus, some are coming out of their cars, some rode bikes to school with the neighborhood kids, some walked to school with their mom or dad or babysitter, and they're all arriving at school in a certain window of time, and the teacher is ready for them with activities when they get there. Now, the hard part for you might be that you're in a situation now where you actually take your child into where they need to go. Many of you are in a child care program, preschool program, where you might actually walk the child in, you help them hang up their backpack, you watch them move around a little bit, you say hi to the teacher, you say goodbye, you leave. Now you have to say goodbye a long time before that. And they're fine. They're fine. They are ready to go when they walk through that door. But I think sometimes it's just that kind of stuff that you need to know is different to prepare you for that next step. There's a little less communication happening than there might be in your child care center or preschool. You might get daily notes from your teacher, or you get that daily face-to-face when you go pick your child up at the end of the day, and now you don't see the teacher because the child's coming home off the bus, or you're picking them up in a car. And so that day-to-day interaction's not the same, but you have plenty of other opportunities to interact with the teacher that we'll talk about. What was the other thing I wanted to tell you about this? Oh, I'll do it later when I talk about transportation. Okay, so the next part is opening. The opening is one of the times of the day when the children are all together. So the idea here is that we want children to understand how to function as a group of 22, which is an average size in kindergarten, of 22 students, and to recognize the importance of listening to other people's ideas and sharing each other's ideas and restating each other's ideas and hearing about what's exciting to someone. So in the morning, they often have a meeting where they'll talk about special things that happened at home, or what the plan is for the day, something that everybody's excited about. It's just that opportunity for them to be together. And then usually, they'll move into language arts. Go ahead, Kim. It was working fine before. The language arts block is usually about a 90-minute chunk. It sounds like a long time for a 5-year-old, but it's quite varied in the activities that are offered during that time. So here you see just a sampling of the kinds of things that might occur. Always there's time with the teacher. This is really a time where that teacher can devote some specific instruction to the needs of the children. And I told you earlier that some children come in reading chapter books and others don't know their letters yet, both of which are absolutely normal for an incoming kindergarten student. So that teacher has to find an opportunity to have like children in front of her that she can give a text to or have a conversation with who needs certain things from her or him. And so that small group time, like you see in the middle there, is a really important time of the day. Now, what you're probably wondering is then, what's everybody else doing? And I will say that a kindergarten classroom is the best example of controlled chaos you could possibly imagine, and that by the first few weeks of school, all the routines are in place, and there's children in different groups who know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. So some might be in a listening center with headphones, reading a book, listening to the story, drawing a picture about the story, while another group is over here with a parent volunteer who's working on a writing activity with them, while another group is doing a game and playing independently with each other, while another group is working with the assistant who has come in to do a teaching activity with them. So all of these things are happening, and there's whole group instruction, small group instruction, one-on-one instruction, partner games, lots of things happening during that time. Then you have content time. content is science, social studies, health. They are very typically integrated into language arts and math throughout the day, but there's also direct instruction in each of these units. All of our curriculum is found online, so you can get information about each of the quarterly units that we address in all of those content areas. But again, there's lots of whole group, lots of partner work, lots of talking, lots of exploring and asking questions, and then making sure that we're getting them to a point that everybody is coming to some of the same understandings by the time they finish the investigation or activity. Typically, lunch, then recess, or recess, then lunch happens in the middle of the day. They have 30 minutes for each. This is a time where children need to demonstrate their independence. So if you have a child that is a grazer, like my son was, who likes to eat one carrot stick and walk away from the table, and 10 minutes later come back and eat one more, walk away and eat, they don't have time for that. They have to learn how to sit down and eat their meal. They have to go in the cafeteria, order their food or unpack their lunchbox, open their own containers, and eat their lunch while socializing with everybody else at their table and get cleaned up in a matter of 30 minutes. So it's something worth practicing throughout the summer. Recess is 30 minutes of free time. We get them outside as much as we can, so make sure that you dress them appropriately, because they will take them outside unless the weather's just too bad for that. Take 10 and quiet time are to address some of the physical needs we recognize that children also have. So Take 10 is this opportunity to move, that we know if we've done 90 minutes of language arts, even though they got to have fun in this center and then go with the teacher and then do this game with a friend and then work over here, before they can switch their brains over and start learning math, they need some time to move. So sometimes they might go out to the playground, but sometimes it might be a song on the carpet. Sometimes it's a game, a stretching activity. Some teachers do yoga. There's all kinds of fun things happening, but the idea is they need to move a little bit before the next learning activity happens. The quiet time is really to address the need to kind of zone out a little bit. It is not a nap. It is not a everybody put your heads down and be quiet, but it is a time to just chill. And even when the children are walking down the hall, going to lunch, going to recess, doing all of those fun things, they're still being expected to follow someone's rules, right? So the idea here is that there needs to be a time where there's not really any demands being put on them, and they can just sit quietly and daydream if they want, read a book if they want, whatever. And it's usually only a few minutes. Some classes might need 15 minutes at the beginning of the year, and some might need 5. Some go longer or shorter. The teacher kind of gauges the needs of the children in her classroom. People are always asking me about nap. So you may have a child who is choosing to still nap now. I would think about weaning once the summer months come, because they're going to be tired when they come to school. And one of the things I always tell people is to just know that in September you're going to have this person in your house who you do not recognize, who's going to be grumpy and mean and nasty for about 3 weeks as the school year begins, because they're going to be exhausted. And they hold it together for us all day. They come to school and they do everything that everyone's asking them to do, and they make new friends and they see all these new things, and they come home and just let it out on you. So just remember this moment, come September, that that's totally normal and that it'll pass after a couple of weeks. But, you know, their body's just adjusting. Their body and their brain are adjusting to a lot. So mathematics is the other biggest chunk of the day. It's very similar to language arts in the idea that there's whole group, small group, one-on-one happening, lots of games, lots of opportunities to make sense of some abstract concepts using concrete things. And the variance in abilities is the same as it is for reading. There's some children that still are uncomfortable counting to 10, 20, 30, and there's other children that are adding and subtracting numbers. And all of those things are normal. But the more opportunities you give them to talk about numbers and make sense of comparing numbers and shapes, and playing with dice, playing board games is a great thing you can be doing this summer, the more experiences they'll have to bring with them to the math lessons. Related arts. So every day, your child will go somewhere else besides his or her own classroom. So art, music, physical education, library media, and technology are opportunities that our children have during the school day. I tell you this mainly because I want you to make sure your children know that there are other adults that they will interact with besides their own teacher. And I think that's been a change for some children we've seen come into kindergarten who might be used to being with one family child care provider since they were 6 weeks old, and that's been the only person besides mom and dad taking care of them during the day. Or they're in a preschool where they have a teacher in the morning and a different teacher in the afternoon, and that's it. Or grandma's been watching them every day. And so here they come to school, they have their teacher that they need to know, they have an assistant that they get to know, they have parent volunteers that come in and out of their classroom, and each day they're going to go somewhere else, to the gym or to the library or to the computer lab, and do other things with other teachers. And I just tell you that so that if you have a child who's a little nervous about the transition, that's something worth having a conversation about. Just all the new people that they're going to meet. Student-selected activities is a time of day where children play, but play with the intent of learning and applying the learning that they've been doing throughout the day. So there's blocks and computers and writing center and reading corner and Legos and dress-up clothes and all kinds of things, and they choose where they'd like to go. And some like certain things every single day only, and some like to try out new things every day. But you frequently will see things that they've been learning about in language arts or math or science being replicated in their play. And that's what the teacher's watching for, is how they're applying their skills. So the bottom line is that kindergarten instruction is differentiated instruction. And I hope that you got a sense of, in a day, how we're able to meet the needs of all the different children in there. You need to remember, of course, that some children turn 5 years old on August 31st, and other children turn 6 years old on September 2nd, and that variance that walks into the room is a whole year's age difference on top of what we know are the developmental differences in every child as they grow. And so we make sure that every day in kindergarten gives us the opportunity to meet all of those different needs that children have in a fun way. It's fun, but it's challenging because we're always trying to make sure that we take each child right to that place that they need and able to be able to move forward. Oh, let me go back one more. I wanted to mention that because of that age difference and the cutoff date of September 1st, there are always people who ask us about early admission, which means my child didn't make it to the September 1st cutoff. He was born within 6 weeks after that cutoff and wants to come early. There's a testing process for that. There are also parents who the child is just turning 5 at the end of August or July, and they feel he's just not ready to come to school yet, and they want a waiver. Both of those processes are explained in detail on our website if you need any of that information. So, speaking of the website, we found that one of the most helpful parts of this workshop is doing a quick tour of the website with you, because there's so much information that you need to know that by talking about it as we show you where it is seems to be the most helpful, so that when you leave here, you can go back and find what you need. And sometimes you don't even know what you need to know until someone tells you that you need to know it. So that'll be the conversation we're having now. So when you go to the Howard County School System website's homepage, one of the first things that you'll see is the school calendar. I point that out because, again, this is different than childcare. When you're in a private childcare setting, typically they're open pretty much all the time. And I think that first-time parents in the school system sometimes aren't aware of the professional days that might be closed or certain holidays that were closed, inclement weather days when we're closed. So checking out that school calendar and getting a feel for what the school year looks like is important. It has not yet been finalized for the coming year, but you can see what's up there for this year just to get a picture, and the new calendar will be approved very soon. I also wanted to tell you about HCPSS Connect, which is also on the homepage, and I mentioned to you earlier that even though communication is different than in childcare or preschool, it is there. There are many ways to communicate with your teacher and with your school and with our office. So emails, texting, you can sign up for these alerts. You can actually do that now. You don't have to wait until you enroll, and you'll start getting information the way that you choose to get it from the school system. When you get into your school and you get your teacher, there will also be additional ways to sign up for that connection. Another thing on the homepage is, Kim, can you go back, please? The school and bus locator. We discovered that some people didn't know that in Howard County, you must go to the school that you are assigned to. Some people grew up in districts in other states where that wasn't the case. So we realized that we needed to let you know that you do have a specified school that you need to go to based on your home address, and that if you don't know what that is, you can use the school and bus locator. It's on the homepage. You type in your house or apartment number and your street name, and it will tell you the elementary school, middle school, and high school that you are districted to. It also tells you the times for the opening and closing of those schools, which is another thing that we learned that sometimes kindergarten parents don't recognize, is that this school might start at 9:15 in the morning. That school starts at 8:30 in the morning. This one lets out at 3:30. This one lets out at 4. So because of your work schedules, that might be something that you need to know. Now, this is something else that's being discussed in the community that might change. Some of you may have heard that conversation. It's not going to change for the coming year. So you can go on there and pretty much be certain that those times are close to what they'll be, and they will finalize them soon. The other thing that's on there is bus information. So you can find out your bus number. You can find out if you're even eligible for a bus, because it's if you live within a mile of the school or more, you get the bus. Under a mile, you become a walker or car rider. There are exceptions to that in places with no sidewalks, for example. So check that to find out about the bus and about the bus stop, and all of that gets updated throughout the summer as school gets closer. So, schools. I told you earlier that tonight's information was the general information, but that there is specific information about each school you can find out about. So if you click on the school tab, then you click on elementary school, it'll take you to a place that you can find out very specific information about your school. Once you click on that, it'll also take you to your school's website and give you a ton of other resources that are out there. If you click on that tab over there called Services, there's a lot of important stuff on this tab. One of them is transportation. Kim, can you go back to transportation? Thank you. She's telling me don't touch the clicker anymore. I'm putting it away. All right, transportation. Bus stops, bus times, bus safety, bus rules. I think this is a thing that scares a lot of kindergarten parents, is the bus. First of all, we don't lose children. They do sometimes fall asleep on the bus. So the bus drivers know who the kindergartners are. They make sure that they're sitting up front close to them. They pretty much herd them together at the beginning of the school year. So when you get to a school on the first day of school, every adult in the building has been put on call to watch out for those kindergarten kids that are coming in, and we mark them up. You know, some of them get wristbands like at the carnival, some get an apple stuck to their forehead, some get something tied to their backpack, but they get identified as soon as they walk out off the bus or out of the car. And then people will kind of gather them together, take them to where they need to go. Now, by the probably third day of school, they absolutely don't need us anymore, and they're strolling down the hall like they own the place. But we do make sure that no one gets lost. But for this reason, I'm telling you right now that another piece of advice you need to take is that whatever your child's normal routine is going to be, you need to do that on the first day of school. So you can't take them out to breakfast and have a little party and drive them to school and drop them off if that's not going to happen every single day. And you can't follow the bus waving all the way to school. Now, you can do it behind the bus with the video camera as long as you're quiet about it, but the idea here is that whatever that normal routine's going to be, you need to do that because it's new for everybody else too. So on that first day and on that second day and even the third day, everybody's figuring out what to do together. And all the help in the building is corralled around getting those kindergartners into this routine that they need to know. But if your child doesn't do their normal routine and they don't learn it with everybody else, then by the third day of school, when you stick them on the bus, everybody else knows what to do now. And your child is the one who's kind of feeling unsure and confused, and the help may not be there the same as it would have been the first day. We'll still get them to where they need to go, but I think it's just important for you to realize that if they're going to go to before care, send them to before care. If they're going to ride in your car, drive them in your car. But let them get used to that routine while everybody else is doing the same thing. The next thing on the services tab is the food and nutrition page. This is important for several reasons. Breakfast is offered in the schools for children that want it. Lunch is given to everyone, not given. It costs money, but it's provided for everyone. There's information about the payment plans, about costs, about menus, about allergies. Allergies is usually a big concern for a lot of people. Allergies are handled differently depending on the allergies in the school. Sometimes it's dealt with at the cafeteria level. Sometimes it's also dealt with in the classroom level. There's lots of information there about allergies, but we do take care of it. Children can choose to bring their own lunch or buy lunch, and they can alternate both ways. They don't have to make a standard decision. But there's tons of stuff on that page. Next. Before and after care. This is always a big one too. So remember I was saying to you that schools start and end at different times, and they don't always logically follow your work schedule. So you might need before care or after care for your child. We don't provide that, but we do have a partnership with the Howard County Recreation and Parks Department and with the Columbia Association, and they do provide services in every single elementary school before and after school. But because we don't provide them, that's not information that I have for you this evening, but I do have phone numbers, and it is on the website. So I'm telling you now because we didn't realize how quickly these things fill up, and often our kindergarten parents didn't know to ask about it until later in the summer when they realized they needed it, and then the sessions were already full. So that's definitely something worth calling and inquiring about sooner rather than later if you think you're going to need it. And people often ask me, do I have to do both? No. Some people only need the before, some people only need the after, and some need both. And some only need it on certain days. So that's definitely something for you to look into if you need it. One more thing is if before and after care doesn't work for you with Rec and Parks or Columbia Association, there are also many neighborhood preschools that have care at their site, and they'll have a bus that comes to the school and takes the children there. There's a number on there to call the county about that also. Okay, on the academics tab, we have curriculum. So remember I told you that if you wanted to learn more about the particular standards in the content areas, you could go there. But then we also have this thing on the right called Kindergarten Readiness. That tab is going to take you to everything kindergarten. You'll learn, there's lots of the things that we have in the toolkit, the things about readiness. There's some videos here, there's some parent information, but then there's also the enrollment and registration information. So if you go to that next one, hcpss.org/enroll, has everything you need. Some of it's also on your note-taking sheet and in the toolkit that you'll receive, but it's all on the website, exactly the things that you need to know to go register. There's always some kinds of special situations. People are in multi-family living situations. People haven't purchased their house yet. They're coming to move here, but they haven't settled yet. I can't find the deed to my house. What do I do? So all those kinds of questions are addressed on the website. But then we also have some general information, Kim, with what you'll need to take with you to register at your school. So this kindergarten kickoff week is February 27th to March 3rd. During that time, every school is open and ready for you. Now, if you can't come during that week, you can register at any time. However, you will need to make an appointment. But the schools know that 4,000 of you are coming, and so during that week, we pretty much open up all the schools, hoping to get as many of you in as we can to expedite the process. And there are a number of staff available to help process your registration during that time. You need to bring these documents with you. They'll have all the forms that you need to fill out. A lot of the forms are also on the website, so if you want to print them out ahead of time and complete them and bring them, you can. But most of these documents need to be originals. Just know that when you come. And I think that's it about that one. Go to the next. If you need language support, so if you're going to have difficulty with the forms and you would like help with interpretation, we have liaisons at some of the schools, or there's an international student registration center that can support you. In addition, it's important to know that many of you have children that attend pre-K in the school system. If they're already enrolled, they don't need to enroll again. I think this is important. I get this question a lot. You only need to register once. So the work that you're going to go through with this child this year never has to happen again until they're done and graduated. You've met your registration responsibilities. But if you've registered an older child, that doesn't count for this. You still got to do this whole process on this child. So every child needs a full registration process to happen, but if they did it for pre-K, they don't have to do it again. It's just like going from elementary school to middle school or middle school to high school. So when they go from pre-K to kindergarten, their records will transfer with them and you're all taken care of, okay? You will get a letter if your child is in pre-K. You'll get a letter from the pre-K teacher alerting you to any events happening at the new school if you want to go visit, whatever, but I just want to make sure that was clear. So one important thing to know is that registration date is like a business transaction. And we sometimes see parents bring their children with them because the children think it's going to be a really cool day at the new big school, and the girls come in their princess dresses, and they're all ready to come for activities, and they find out that they just have to stand there for 30 minutes while you fill out a bunch of paperwork. So I'm only telling you this so that you know that registration is the business part. And if you bring a child with you, it's fine, but I want you to know that that's what you're coming to do. All of these other things are the fun things. Those are the events that your school is going to tell you about, that they're going to have tours or visitation dates or orientation activities or play dates in the summer. There's going to be all kinds of opportunities for your family to become part of that school community. There's some other events that our county has to help support our families during this transition time. So the annual Discovery Fair is being held on April 1st at the Cradle Rock Elementary School. It's a free event for all families of preschool and kindergarten age children, although it's open to anyone. The activities are geared towards ages 3 to 5. That's a really fun event. And then the Kindergarten Here We Come classes are held at every branch multiple times throughout the summer. You do have to register for those, and the dates have not been published yet, but the library website and our website will have that information. And the kids get to come be with other children who are going to be going to kindergarten. They get to get on a school bus, see what it looks like. they get to do a craft and have a little mini kindergarten day so they can become familiar with what's happening. So remember that this is an exciting time, and we don't want you today to go home and start making your child nervous about going to kindergarten. This is about this transition process, right? So be thinking of the things that you can do between now and then to kind of start setting the stage and having these conversations. And some kids are ready now to start talking about it, but some aren't. And so take it slow. And remember to enjoy who they are now. Preschool's a really important time in their life. So let them be 4 and do the things that are important for a preschooler, but start thinking about what's happening next so that you're starting to kind of bridge that happening, okay? For you, remember I talked about at the very beginning all those nervous and exciting feelings that you're having. Just make sure that you're finding ways for you to become involved in your school community as well. Find ways to volunteer, go to different events, find out what opportunities there are for parents, sign up for the email alerts or text alerts. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Everyone at the school is ready and willing to help. They know what kindergarten parents feel like and what you're going through, and you probably can't ask anything that they haven't heard before, but it's your first time, and so they want to support you. So there's lots of people to ask questions of. And just know that all these different feelings are normal, but don't convey your anxiety on your children. Make sure you're talking about the exciting parts of this stuff. So when you leave tonight, you're going to be turning in your feedback form and getting your school readiness toolkit on the way out. And for those of you watching at home, we're going to be posting a lot of the materials from the toolkit on our website. The next page, Kim. We're going to have a question and answer period now, but I want to make sure that everybody in the room understands that the actual presentation part is over.